No, not from the likes of you, I'm afraid. I don't think you'd have the stomach for it. Better look elsewhere.
Oh, so you're telling me I've come all this way for nothing? You're making a big, fat mistake. You don't know that you're dealing with the classiest man in the wasteland, and this is your loss. You know what? Screw those guys. I'm way too good for them anyway. Hey, waiter. What type of meat is this?
That would be human penis, sir.
Ah, okay, cool. Wait. Hitler and anime. Was that a good hook? Or did I just scare you away? Anyway, as long as I have your attention, the hook has done its job. Believe it or not, but both of those things are actually related to the topic of this fine video. How? Might sound a little weird right now, but if you just keep watching, we'll get to it eventually. The NCR Veteran Ranger helmet. One of the coolest pieces of equipment in all of video game history. What I'm saying right now is not subjective. This is objective facts. For the sake of just keeping the title short and practical, I just called it the NCR helmet. I know some of you will freak out in the comments.
This is actually not the end.
Since you clicked on this video, it's safe to assume that you already know pretty much all there is to know about Fallout New Vegas. A recap of the story is therefore not necessary. So anyway, here's a recap of the story. In Fallout New Vegas, you're not some chosen one, you know, the sole survivor or like Destiny incarnate himself. You're a mailman. You get shot twice on the job and left for dead, and you survive because of course you do. Instead of taking this as a sign from the universe to maybe switch over to accounting or settle down on a farm in Good Springs, you make it your life's mission to seek out and confront the guy who really tried to kill you.
What in the goddamn?
And here's the thing, New Vegas isn't about you. It's not about saving the world. It's about systems trying to crawl their way back into existence. You do, however, play a part in deciding which of these systems gets to take control of the Mojave. And the three major factions are the NCR, Caesar's Legion, and Mr. House. Everybody's got their eyes on the prize, which is the Hoover Dam. Because if you have the dam, you have electricity. If you have electricity, you have legitimacy, you have power. And most importantly of all, you have the main character in all of Fallout, water. New Vegas isn't about some cosmic prophecy. It's not about dragons or magic. It's the struggle between a wannabe democracy and slave allegiance and a casino oligarch and a mailman who happens to find himself in the middle of their power struggle. And in a game all about institutions and systems, these symbols start to matter a lot more. And the symbol that New Vegas chose for its cover is a man in a gas mask. And I find that interesting. If you have a look at the covers of all the previous Fallout games, you'll see that it's often just power armor, angry bird thing, power armor, sexy man, hold up. Sexy man? You see, all of the other Fallout games have featured this mechanical, authoritarian Hulk creature thing, creation on the cover. Very big, strong, but New Vegas chose this slick silhouette of a man in a gas mask. You could argue that the reason he's on the cover is simply just because the NCR is the biggest faction in the Mojave. It's sort of like a spin-off. It's not Fallout 3, 4, 5, it's New Vegas. It's his own little thing. But there must be more. Please let there be more meaning. Not only does this game not feature a power armor or Angry Bird power armor, it's a ranger, and he's human-sized. The developers of New Vegas, Obsidian, said that it was important to them that the conflicts of New Vegas were very human concerns. Also, all the other covers have the mechanical Hulk or Angry Bird either staring directly at you or aura farming by looking away heroically, like a LinkedIn headshot. In Fallout New Vegas, the camera is pointed upwards, so it feels like we, the viewer, are standing beneath the NCR Ranger, and he's looking down on us. This signals this: he's not here to support you, he's here to govern you. whether you like it or not. And that's kind of the spirit of the NCR anyway. It's very opinion-based, you know? New Vegas doesn't give you clean factions at all. Everybody's hands are dirty. It's just that the NCR's hands smell a little better. Especially better than Caesar's Legion. If they're really serious about this whole Roman Empire LARPing stuff, they're probably using the communal sponge. The communal sponge is more important than you think. Back in the olden days, in the Roman Empire, when after they'd finished taking a shit in a public bathroom, they'd use the communal sponge. It's like shared toilet paper, but instead of throwing it or flushing it, you would just leave it there for the next guy, you know? Yeah, whatever, I'm really going off script here. As I said, it looks like the Ranger is here to govern you, not necessarily support you. This is the face of authority. It also just looks very cool. You couldn't really place a regular NCR trooper on the cover. You could, but it would look like some safari jungle expedition game. Look at this. Does this look badass? Do you want to buy this? Like, what is this? Fall out of the jungle! We got fun and games! Yeah! If you'd see this Ranger walking towards you at night, would you feel A, safe, B, scared, or C, like you're about to be taxed? B and C are probably the same anyway. The helmet becomes the face of governance and authority, not heroism. We're almost at the Hitler and anime part, okay? Just hang in there, I know you're excited. Let's talk a little bit about the design of this. So the whole thing is basically pre-war LAPD riot gear. Repurposed, upgraded, and combined with the style of the old Desert Rangers to make this Western cowboy soldier look. It looks really cool, and you know the NCR's motto, the world might be doomed, but fashion is not. They didn't actually say that anywhere, it's just I kind of want them to say that. And this already tells a story, because riot gear is not what you outfit your soldiers with before they charge into the fields of battle against their enemies. Riot gear is what you deploy against your own citizens, to silence them and beat them into submission. That means that before the bombs dropped, the US wasn't only worried about China. What am I doing? What was I saying? They were worried about their own citizens, which is always a great sign historically. You don't invest in like insanely souped up riot gear, gas masks and everything unless you're expecting some serious civil unrest, like a Black Friday in the early 2000s. And something that makes this whole situation just a little sad is that majority of the riots where the civilians were beat up and killed were just riots or protests over food shortages and power. So every time you see one of these Rangers, you're looking at a relic from a world that was already doomed. A world that tried to beat civil unrest into submission with more guns and more armor, and then blew itself up anyway. And now that same armor has been recommissioned for never-ending war in the post-apocalypse. You know, war. War never changes. War. The gas mask with the fully covered face is dehumanizing, and with the glaring red lenses, it represents authority and this sort of predator vision. And top it all off, literally, with like a World War II style helmet. Red lenses do have some actual practical features to them that make them worth using. They're good for allowing your eyes to adapt to changes in lighting, for example, and the list goes on. They're very popular among like skiers and snowboarders. Yes, that does mean that skiers and snowboarders are part of an evil authority. According to the Fallout wiki, the NCR Desert Ranger's look was designed by massive black artist. Who wrote this? There's actually no one here. I wrote this, but I was just like, upon reading it, I was like, why is this size and race important at all to this? Massive black artist Wesley Bird. So I go ahead and Google Wesley Bird, and I'm even more confused. Then I kind of realized that, oh, Massive Black is the name of the company that he was working at while he was coming up with the concept art for the Rangers. That might just be me being dumb. A lot of you probably already knew this. Okay, moving on. You know what? I might have to take this inside and just do a voiceover, because holy shit, it's cold. It's so fucking cold. Josh Sawyer, the lead designer of Fallout New Vegas, has answered some questions online regarding the various design choices. Someone asked about the NCR Ranger design, and Sawyer answered, in an attempt to steer it away from becoming another Jinro, he wanted it westernized. Now, what is this Jinro? Jinro the Wolf Brigade. Released in 1999, Jinro the Wolf Brigade is set in an alternative post-war Japan under authoritarian rule and constant civil unrest. The government creates an elite unit, Kerberos. These guys in heavy armor with terrifying gas masks and glowing red eyes to crush protest movements and insurgents. The story follows one of those soldiers, Kasuke Fuse, I probably butchered that name, after he hesitates to kill a girl during a mission and watches her blow herself up rather than surrender. From there, it turns into this slow, tragic spiral about guilt, identity, and being used as a disposable piece in a political power struggle. And the whole point of the armor in that anime is dehumanization. The suit strips away identity. The red eyes and gas masks turn the wearer into a walking symbol of state violence. You're not supposed to know who's inside, you're just supposed to be afraid of them. New Vegas takes that exact visual language, the red lenses, gas mask, faceless silhouette, and drops it into a world full of wannabe democracies, slavers, and crazy casino oligarchs. But gas mask, German-style World War II helmet, and red eyes aren't unique to Fallout. There are a plethora of games out there where this exact type of character appears. Starting with good old Hunk here from Resident Evil 2, released in 1998. We have the Hellcast from Killzone. Not even freaking Scooby-Doo was safe from the evil red-eyed Nazis.
I am the very evil robot, yeah.
I didn't say that, that was just me.
Kriegsstabverbot, Selbstzerstörungssequenz aktiviert.
Oh, great.
3, 2, 1.
And in Manhunt, there's also a group who goes by the name Cerberus, which is just another name for Kerberos, also donning the exact same look. Cerberus, in Greek mythology, is the three-headed dog guarding the underworld, preventing souls from escaping and the living from entering by all means necessary. He is loyal to Hades and represents Hades' power and authority. Keep in mind that Cerberus isn't necessarily evil, he's merely an instrument and a guardian of a system that already exists. It therefore makes sense that the Kerberos and Jinro are named so, simply because they're put out into the field to maintain order at all costs. They're guardians of authority. Those helmets, and therefore the Ranger's helmet, visually communicate authority, way before dialogue ever does. So what does it actually mean that this is the face of Fallout New Vegas? Not power armor or an angry bird, just a ranger in riot gear. Fallout New Vegas isn't about surviving the apocalypse.
You dig this crazy scene or
It's about deciding who gets to rebuild, and which of these factions get to decide what order is supposed to look like. The NCR wants to rebuild democracy. They've got elections, taxes, bureaucracy. On paper, it's the definition of stability, which is where most governments tend to perform best anyway. But look at that NCR Ranger helmet. That doesn't look like ballots and debate. It looks like enforcement. It looks like what you deploy when things don't go according to plan, which, based on NCR supply lines, is most of the time. Also, the NCR does have some pretty brutal, barbaric punishments for their soldiers, which kind of shocked me as well, because I've always been a huge fan of the NCR, you know, who is. Let me read this. Cowardice before the enemy, especially desertion, is punished with death by hanging, or to be shot on sight. Dishonorable conduct usually leads to a court-martial and may result in execution by firing squad for particularly severe crimes. So, you know, democracy. Now, to be fair, I know I'm making a whole video about the NCR Ranger helmet, the veteran helmet, talking about it as if it's something that's just all over the place, like they just barge into communities and start shooting up the place with taxes. But that's not really the reality. If you can finish the whole main storyline almost without seeing one of these rangers a single time. You know, the average NCR troopers look like they've wandered off the set of a Monty Python jungle expedition, with their safari hats and goggles, ready to expand westwards with the clipboards in hand. So why didn't they put a regular NCR trooper on the cover, if the NCR is the biggest and most influential faction in the wasteland? Because it doesn't look cool. So why is the Ranger on the cover? A lot of people think that the Ranger on the cover is the courier. I personally don't, but that's up to you. It can be you. You know, that's the thing with these games, like the Skyrim video and here, these RPGs, you can be anyone. And that courier on the cover might be you. If you're wearing that armor, who's to say that's not you? And also, the NCR veteran rangers are the edge of the NCR. They're the ones who show up when diplomacy stops working. The normal troopers represent bureaucracy, while the rangers represent enforcement. And when you're selling a game about institutional expansion, you don't put the paperwork on the cover. You put the guy who's there because the paperwork no longer works. Paperwork no longer works. Work. The fully covered face removes the person. It is simply the face of an institution. The main difference about something like the Iron Helmet in Skyrim and the NCR Veteran Ranger helmet is that in Skyrim, the helmet invites you in. You can find it literally all over the place, and it's really nothing special. In New Vegas, the Ranger isn't you. He's already there, and he just represents the system that you're negotiating with. And you can either choose to join him, become him, or dismantle everything it stands for, which is very on-brand for Fallout New Vegas. The helmet doesn't symbolize personal greatness, it symbolizes legitimacy. It says, order is back. But also, order requires a force, preferably with a rifle. And that tension is the definition of New Vegas. And it might sound like I'm some NCR hater here, I'm not by any means. The NCR isn't some cartoon evil. They outlaw slavery, they try to rebuild the Republic, but they expand, extract, and plant their flags and call it destiny. And their elite soldiers dress like watchdogs, you know, like Cerberus at the gates. Not necessarily evil, just loyal to his system. And that's why this image lingers, because when you look at the Fallout New Vegas cover, you're not looking at a hero. You're looking at authority, surviving the end of the world. Not kindness, not destiny, authority. And in a game all about water, power, and competing visions for the future, this is the exact symbol you'd expect to be staring down at you. The tip of the spear of the biggest military republic of the post-apocalyptic world. And that's why the NCR Ranger helmet became so iconic. Not because of its rarity or legendary status, but because it perfectly captures the essence of Fallout New Vegas. It's not about becoming a hero, it's about deciding who gets to stand guard when civilization tries again. It's also just very, very fucking cool.